What's up YouTube, my name is Sam and I work under the artist name of Kaio. Today I'm going to be breaking down how I made the second single off my new EP. This is the third track from the EP, second single that we're releasing. It's a bit slower than the first track. This sits right in the middle of the EP. In terms of the story that I was trying to tell, this is our character getting totally lost in the forest, running and being overwhelmed by this dreamy, magical landscape, that kind of vibe. Let's take a listen to the track now and then we'll break down how we made it. So as you can hear, it's super mellow, super dreamy track. Let's jump into this project file and then we'll see what's going on. It's a relatively simple track, there's not too much going on. We've got a drone, we've got a couple of different pianos, a couple of different ambience layers. Let's start with the drone, this is how it sounds on its own, and then we'll jump in to see what's actually happening. I made this drone using the Labs Azure piano, turned the attack down to about halfway so it just kind of eases in, and then processed it in my mixer. And you can see here, I've got a C chord, an E chord here, and then back to that C chord, and just introducing notes to add loads of movement to the drone. To process this, I've got an EQ here, just cutting the highs, cutting the lows, and then raising a frequency in the middle there that I wanted to be really prominent. We've got a flanger, and this is just adds loads of movement, loads of dynamics. And then I've got a flux mini, and what this does is introduces essentially a sidechain to the drone. Every quarter beat, the sound essentially follows this pattern. It comes in and then it drops out. It raises in and then it drops out. But I turned that down to about 40%. The next element to talk about is the piano, and this is the core of the track, the chords. This is what everything else was built around. As you can hear, this piano's got a really nostalgic, almost kind of romantic, dreamy vibe to it. All of the chords really pack that emotion, and all we've really got going on is a C major here, going into an A minor, that then plays that A minor again, back up into that C major, and then into a G major chord. And what I've done here is just, instead of playing the standard triads, I've moved all the notes around. So we've got the C major here, we've got the E, so that's the 5 in the C major, and we've bumped it up an octave. Then for the A minor, I've got the A, C, E, but then we're playing an E to match with that E from the C chord, and then an A down the bottom as like a root note, and then introducing other notes up here. So we've got the G, and then the E to add a bit of melody. And then for this C major, instead of playing the E an octave higher, playing the C an octave higher, and then introducing a B there. And what that B does is adds a little bit of tension. And then for the G, we've got here a G major, but then the D just sitting at the bottom, and we've suspended it here. So instead of playing the 1, 3, and the 5, it's actually playing the 1, 4, and the 5. It matches with the C, and then we resolve it with that last chord, which is why this sounds so lovely. So we've got the suspension and then the resolve. Processing on the piano, we've got reverb on here, nothing major, just playing a standard reverb, and then an EQ. So I wanted to focus on those lower frequencies. Once we had that, I moved on to melody, and what I've got here is a decent sampler, and this is the main melody of the track. Let's take a listen and then we'll break it down. Processing on this piano, we've got a Valhalla Supermassive that's adding a ton of reverb and a ton of delay. I then added a second delay, and that's quite a long delay, so it's not hitting instantly, and it's on the ping pong preset, so it's jumping from headphone to headphone. And then we have an EQ just to hone in on the frequencies that we wanted to hear from this sound. Let's take a listen to these three on their own, and then we'll take a look at some of the other stuff that's going on. So you'll notice here that there's actually another piano just one layer below this, and that's playing exactly the same thing but an octave higher, so that when everything comes together, that higher frequency really stands out from the mix. In the intro, it's just kind of building up the layers, so using that lower frequency is a really nice way of just introducing an element. And then you'll hear here it's frequency higher. So yeah, just a simple trick like that, meaning you can use the same melody, but it just elevates it and it can keep the track interesting, keep it from going stale. We then have a counter melody here, and all this is playing is some higher frequency notes, just an extension of the chords. So let's see if you can pick those out. Again, just another really subtle layer there, but what it does is it adds another dimension to the chords that you can add and you can take away as the track goes on to keep things moving, keep things interesting. I then have another piano layer, and all this one's doing is just playing a few notes from those chords. We've got 2 octaves playing here, and they're just playing. So when the chords hit, and they're just sort of beefing it up. We've just got a reverb and an EQ, adding some different frequencies and some different sounds to the mix. Now I've got all of these piano layers, it was time to add a bass. So I used my standard classic 80s bass, and this is just following the chords, so it's just playing really simple. Because this is kind of a slower, dreamy track, I didn't want the bass to be like funky or soulful or anything like that. It's just adding a load of warmth. Bass on its own sounds like this. Really simple, but just adding that layer of warmth. And when that comes in, we drop out some of the lower frequencies from this melody here and introduce the higher frequencies there. So let's take a listen to how all this sounds together, and then we can have a look at some drums. So now it's starting to sound really nice. And the drums in this track, super simple. There's only a rim shot and a hi-hat that's playing, and it's pretty much just a hi-hat playing triplets with a couple of breaks in between, and then we've got the rim shot which is playing on the 1 and the 3, and that rim shot is jumping from ear to ear. So on its own we sound like this. Super simple, and then we add that into the track. Super simple because it's all the track needed. Now let's have a look at the atmosphere that I added into this track. There's a couple different layers going on down here. So we've got the sound of somebody running. So you can hear the footsteps. Got just before the drums come in with this sound of a sigh, which I added in quite a few of the tracks. It's kind of cohesive throughout the EP. Then brought in some mysterious forest ambience. We add in some nighttime ambience, sets the scene of being at night, and then I have this waterfall stream sound that comes in and goes as the track goes on. As the track goes on, different ambient. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Do go and check this track out. It is on all streaming platforms now. I will drop the link in the bio. And if you do want to check out this whole EP, Forest Journey, my second EP, will be out at the end of June. If you did enjoy this video, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, let me know what kind of videos you want to see me making. Peace.